For many years, the Beckham family stood as one of the most carefully maintained examples of celebrity unity in modern British culture. David Beckham's athletic discipline and global commercial appeal, paired with Victoria Beckham's successful transition from pop stardom to fashion entrepreneurship, produced not only individual careers, but a consolidated public identity. Their family was presented as an extension of that success, controlled, aspirational, and remarkably stable within an industry known for volatility. Public appearances, interviews, and social media activity reinforced the idea of a household aligned in purpose and image. Against that backdrop, the gradual breakdown of the relationship between Brooklyn Beckham and his parents has carried particular weight. What initially appeared as minor distance, missed events, reduced online interaction, and vague tabloid speculation has since evolved into a clear and deliberate separation. By early 2026, the tension had moved beyond inference and into direct assertion, with Brooklyn publicly positioning himself outside the structure he has described as the brand Beckham. According to Brooklyn's own account, this shift did not occur suddenly. He has framed it as the result of long-standing pressure tied to public perception and brand maintenance. In his telling, much of his upbringing was shaped less by private family dynamics and more by external expectations connected to his parents' reputations. He has stated that his role within the family often functioned as part of a broader public relations strategy designed to support his mother's fashion business and his father's commercial ventures. The image of the perfect family, he argues, required consistent performance rather than organic connection. The turning point Brooklyn identifies most clearly is his marriage to Nicola Peltz in 2022. At the time, the wedding was widely portrayed as a seamless union between two prominent families, combining British celebrity legacy with American billionaire wealth. Media coverage emphasized luxury, harmony, and prestige. Official photographs and magazine spreads reinforced the narrative of continuity, suggesting that the Beckham family had expanded without internal disruption. Brooklyn's later description of events diverges sharply from that portrayal. He has characterized the wedding not as a moment of unity, but as the setting where underlying tensions became visible and, in his view, inescapable. Central to his account is the dispute surrounding Nicola's wedding dress. Early public explanations suggested a logistical or scheduling issue that prevented Victoria Beckham from designing the gown. Brooklyn has since rejected that framing, alleging that the decision occurred at a critical stage and was experienced by him and Nicola as deliberate. In his version of events, the withdrawal forced Nicola into a late adjustment and created emotional strain at a moment that was meant to be private and celebratory. While other sources, including Nicola's stylist, have stated that the Valentino dress was planned well in advance, Brooklyn maintains that the situation felt destabilizing and contributed to a breakdown in trust. He has portrayed the incident not as an isolated disagreement, but as part of a broader pattern in which control and hierarchy outweighed sensitivity. The reception itself, Brooklyn claims, compounded that sense of displacement. He has described the couple's planned first dance as having been interrupted when Victoria Beckham was invited onto the dance floor. In his telling, the moment shifted attention away from his wife and reframed the event around his mother's presence. He has characterized the experience as humiliating, stating that it left him feeling secondary at his own wedding. Reports from guests later noted discomfort in the room, particularly following remarks by Mark Anthony that appeared to elevate Victoria Beckham above the bride. Brooklyn has also cited disputes over seating arrangements as evidence of deeper conflict. He has stated that his decision to seat both of his grandmothers at the main table was met with resistance, which he interpreted as an attempt to enforce an internal social hierarchy. According to his account, the disagreement escalated beyond logistics and became personal. He has alleged that his mother referred to him as evil during the exchange, a comment he has described as permanently altering his understanding of his family's emotional boundaries. While the wedding provided visible flashpoints, Brooklyn has emphasized that the most consequential conflict occurred behind the scenes. He has claimed that in the weeks leading up to the ceremony, his parents pressured him to formalize agreements, transferring commercial rights to his name and future branding. According to Brooklyn, the proposed arrangements would have placed control of his public identity and potentially that of his future children under the Beckham corporate structure. He has stated that he refused to sign, viewing the request as incompatible with his independence and marriage. Brooklyn has linked that refusal to a fundamental change in how he was treated. In his account, communication became formal and conditional, and emotional support was replaced by legal and financial language. He has described this period as the moment he realized he was no longer regarded primarily as a son, but as an asset whose autonomy posed a risk to existing business arrangements. While no documentation of such contracts has been released publicly, speculation about strict brand governance within the Beckham family has circulated for years. These unresolved tensions, Brooklyn argues, explain his absence from subsequent family milestones. His decision not to attend his father's 50th birthday celebrations drew public attention, as did the sudden blocking of family members on social media. Initial reports suggested that David and Victoria Beckham had unfollowed their son, prompting public concern. Brooklyn's brother Cruz later clarified that Brooklyn had initiated the block himself, reinforcing the perception that the separation was intentional rather than reactive. By early 2026, the rift had become explicit. David Beckham addressed the situation indirectly in media appearances, suggesting that disagreements should be understood as youthful mistakes. Brooklyn publicly rejected that framing. He has stated that his decision was not impulsive, but the result of sustained patterns that left him emotionally exhausted. In his words, peace became possible only after distancing himself from his parents' influence. Brooklyn has since taken steps to formalize his alignment with the Peltz family. He has spoken positively about their support and stability and has made symbolic gestures underscoring his commitment to his marriage. Among these was the replacement of a tattoo associated with his mother with new ink dedicated to Nicola, a change that was widely interpreted as both personal and declarative. At this stage, the dispute has moved beyond speculation about wedding logistics or interpersonal friction. It has become a broader conflict over autonomy, control, and identity. Brooklyn's account frames his departure as a necessary act of self-definition, while his parents' public responses emphasize restraint and minimization. The contrast has left little indication that reconciliation is imminent. For the Beckham family, whose commercial success has long rested on the presentation of unity, the situation represents a profound shift. Brooklyn's choice to remain firmly within the Peltz family's orbit signals that the Beckham name no longer holds the authority it once did over their eldest son. What was once a carefully protected image has given way to a visible fracture, raising questions not only about family relationships, but about the costs of maintaining a global brand built on cohesion. For the Beckham family, whose commercial success has long rested on the presentation of unity, the situation represents a profound shift. Brooklyn's choice to remain firmly within the Peltz family's orbit signals that the Beckham name no longer holds the authority it once did over their eldest son. What was once a carefully protected image has given way to a visible fracture, raising questions not only about family relationships, but about the costs of maintaining a global brand built on cohesion. The fallout that followed the wedding did not resolve itself quietly. Instead, it extended into a prolonged period of distance that gradually hardened into separation. What had initially appeared to outsiders as post-wedding adjustment or geographic drift began to take on a more deliberate shape. Brooklyn's reduced presence in family settings, both physical and symbolic, became consistent rather than incidental. In the months after the ceremony, Brooklyn and Nicola established their base primarily in the United States, spending extended time with the Peltz family. While this could reasonably be attributed to work and convenience, Brooklyn has since framed it as a conscious choice. He has stated that the environment he found with the Peltz family offered stability without conditions, something he felt had been increasingly absent in his relationship with his parents. This contrast, he argues, clarified what he had been missing rather than what he was abandoning. During this period, public messaging from the Beckham family remained restrained. David and Victoria Beckham continued to post selectively about family life, often focusing on their younger children or professional milestones. Brooklyn's absence from these narratives was noticeable but unaddressed. The lack of explanation allowed speculation to grow, with tabloids framing the situation as a typical in-law conflict or a temporary generational rift. Brooklyn has rejected those interpretations. In his account, the distance was not the result of miscommunication, but of unresolved power dynamics. He has described attempts at reconciliation as being contingent on compliance, appearing together publicly, reinforcing the family image, or minimizing Nicola's role in decisions. According to Brooklyn, these conditions made genuine repair impossible. Any engagement, he felt, came with expectations that placed the brand above the marriage. The issue of public appearance became particularly significant. Brooklyn has claimed that his parents expected him to attend events or participate in media moments without Nicola, a request he viewed as both dismissive and symbolic. For him, refusing those appearances was less about defiance and more about establishing boundaries. He has stated that choosing not to comply resulted in further withdrawal rather than compromise. This dynamic came into sharper focus around David Beckham's 50th birthday celebrations. The event was positioned as a major milestone, both personally and commercially, drawing attention from media and industry figures. Brooklyn did not attend. Reports initially suggested scheduling conflicts, but Brooklyn later clarified that the absence reflected deeper issues. He has stated that Nicola was not invited and that he declined to participate under those terms. This dynamic came into sharper focus around David Beckham's 50th birthday celebrations. The event was positioned as a major milestone, both personally and commercially, drawing attention from media and industry figures. Brooklyn did not attend. Reports initially suggested scheduling conflicts, but Brooklyn later clarified that the absence reflected deeper issues. He has stated that Nicola was not invited and that he declined to participate under those terms. According to Brooklyn, he traveled to London hoping for a private conversation with his father ahead of the celebrations. He has claimed that no such meeting materialized and that the only invitation extended to him involved appearing at the public event without his wife. He declined and returned to the United States. The episode reinforced his belief that visibility mattered more than relationship repair. Around the same time, Brooklyn took the step of blocking his parents and siblings on social media. The move was abrupt and immediately noticed. Initial reporting implied mutual disengagement, but subsequent clarification made clear that Brooklyn initiated the block. His brother Cruz addressed the situation publicly, stating that their parents had not unfollowed Brooklyn and that the decision had come from Brooklyn himself.
For Brooklyn, the block was not impulsive. He has described it as necessary to reduce emotional strain and prevent indirect communication through public platforms. In his view, social media had become an extension of the same performative dynamics he was trying to escape. Removing access was a way of reclaiming privacy rather than escalating conflict.
During this period of separation, Brooklyn and Nicola renewed their wedding vows in a private ceremony held at the Peltz family estate in New York. The event was not announced publicly at the time and was attended by a small group of family and friends. None of the Beckhams were present. Brooklyn has described the renewal as intentional, emphasizing its contrast with the scale and visibility of the original wedding. He has framed the vow renewal as an affirmation of autonomy rather than a provocation. In his account, it represented a commitment made without external pressure or spectacle. The absence of his parents was not highlighted at the time, but later reporting underscored its significance. The ceremony symbolized, in practical terms, the life Brooklyn was choosing to build, separate from the structures he associated with control. As speculation intensified, Victoria Beckham addressed the situation indirectly in interviews. In one widely circulated remark, she stated that she generally gets along with women and suggested that serious conflict requires extreme circumstances. While she did not name Nicola, the comment was interpreted as dismissive by critics and as defensive by supporters. Brooklyn did not respond directly, but the statement added to the perception of unresolved tension.
Brooklyn's own public response came later and was notably expansive. Rather than issuing a brief denial or clarification, he released a detailed statement outlining his perspective. He described years of emotional pressure tied to maintaining a specific image and asserted that distancing himself was essential for his mental well-being. He framed the decision as final, stating that peace became possible only after stepping away.
Importantly, Brooklyn did not accuse his parents of malice. His language focused on systems rather than intent. He described the family dynamic as one in which control and branding had gradually overridden emotional connection. In that context, his marriage represented not the cause of conflict, but the point at which existing issues could no longer be ignored. The public response to Brooklyn's statement was divided. Some criticized him for airing private matters and argued that his account was one-sided. Others noted the measured tone of his remarks and the absence of personal attacks. Former associates of the Beckham family, including individuals who had previously worked closely with David Beckham, expressed support for Brooklyn and described the family environment as tightly managed. Despite the intensity of coverage, there has been no indication of legal action from either side. The dispute has remained public but non-litigious. Brooklyn has not sought to monetize the conflict, nor has he signaled interest in reconciliation. His parents, for their part, have avoided detailed rebuttal, maintaining a posture of restraint. What distinguishes this situation from typical celebrity disputes is its duration and clarity. The separation has not softened over time. Instead, it has become more defined. Brooklyn's actions, his relocation, social media block, vow renewal, and public statement collectively indicate a sustained decision rather than a temporary estrangement. At this stage, the conflict cannot be reduced to wedding disagreements or personality clashes. It reflects a deeper disagreement about autonomy, identity, and the role of family within a commercial structure. Brooklyn's narrative positions his departure as an act of self-preservation, while the Beckham family's silence emphasizes continuity and control. As the situation stands, there is little evidence of rapprochement. The distance has become normalized, and both sides appear to be moving forward independently. For Brooklyn, the choice has been framed as necessary and irreversible. For the Beckhams, the absence of their eldest son has become part of a revised public image, one that no longer depends on complete family unity. This phase of the story underscores that the fallout is not episodic but structural. The question is no longer what caused the rift, but whether the underlying dynamics that produced it are capable of change. The final stage of the Beckham-Peltz fallout is defined less by new incidents than by permanence. What distinguishes this phase from earlier periods of tension is not escalation, but consolidation. Positions have been taken, boundaries established, and narratives clarified. The conflict has settled into a stable form, one in which separation itself has become the outcome rather than a step toward reconciliation. By early 2026, Brooklyn Beckham's position was explicit. He stated publicly that he did not wish to repair the relationship with his parents, and that distance had brought him a sense of calm he had not previously experienced. This declaration marked a shift from ambiguity to finality. It reframed the story away from ongoing negotiation and toward a conclusion rooted in personal autonomy. Brooklyn's framing of peace is central to understanding this stage. Rather than presenting himself as a victim seeking resolution, he positioned himself as an adult who had already resolved the conflict internally. He described his decision not as a rejection of his parents, but as a withdrawal from a system he believed was incompatible with his values and marriage. In this framing, reconciliation was not delayed, it was unnecessary. This posture placed the Beckham family in a complex position. David and Victoria Beckham had spent decades cultivating a public image built on discipline, resilience, and cohesion. Their response to Brooklyn's statements was restrained, consistent with their broader media strategy. David's remark that children are allowed to make mistakes reflected a paternal framing that minimized the substance of Brooklyn's claims while preserving authority. To supporters, this suggested patience. To critics, it reinforced Brooklyn's argument that his concerns were being reframed rather than addressed. The lack of a detailed rebuttal has been notable. The Beckhams have not directly contested Brooklyn's allegations regarding contracts, control, or emotional pressure, nor have they confirmed them. Their silence operates as both strategy and signal. It avoids inflaming the situation while also declining to validate his account. In doing so, it maintains the family's broader brand integrity, even as it leaves the personal rift unresolved. Brooklyn, by contrast, has continued to make symbolic gestures that underline his separation. His decision to alter a tattoo previously associated with his mother and replace it with one dedicated to Nicola has been interpreted as both personal and emblematic. Tattoos, by their nature, are permanent markers. In this context, the change has been read as a deliberate signal of allegiance and identity. Similarly, Brooklyn's increasing integration into the Peltz family has been visible and consistent. He has referred publicly to Nicola's parents as supportive and grounding. He has participated in family events and has appeared comfortable within their structure. This integration contrasts sharply with his withdrawal from Beckham family rituals and milestones. The distinction reinforces his narrative that he did not leave family altogether but chose a different one. For the Beckham brand, the implications are significant. Family unity was not merely a private value but a commercial asset. Campaigns, interviews, and public appearances often emphasize cohesion across generations. Brooklyn's absence disrupts that image and introduces complexity into a narrative that had previously been tightly controlled. The family's continued success does not negate this disruption, but it does absorb it, recalibrating the brand around a revised version of unity. Public opinion has stabilized as well. Initial reactions were polarized, with accusations of ingratitude on one side and assertions of emotional autonomy on the other. Over time, however, the debate has shifted from judgment to acceptance. The story has been contextualized within broader conversations about adult children, boundaries, and the pressures of growing up within highly managed environments. Brooklyn's experience has been cited as illustrative rather than exceptional. What remains unresolved is not the sequence of events, but the underlying disagreement about control. Brooklyn's account suggests that the Beckham family operated with an implicit expectation of compliance, particularly where branding and public image were concerned. His refusal to sign contracts and conform to certain appearances challenged that expectation. The resulting conflict exposed the limits of flexibility within the system. From the Beckham perspective, the emphasis on structure and hierarchy may have been perceived as protective rather than restrictive. Managing a global brand requires consistency and coordination. In that context, deviations can appear threatening. The tension arises when personal relationships are embedded within those structures, making it difficult to separate care from control. The absence of mediation or compromise suggests that both sides view the costs of reconciliation as higher than the benefits. For Brooklyn, returning would mean re-entering a system he believes compromised his well-being. For the Beckhams, conceding his framing would require acknowledging that the brand itself contributed to the fracture. Neither outcome appears acceptable. This stalemate has produced a rare outcome in celebrity culture, a clean break without spectacle. There have been no lawsuits, no public insults, and no attempts to monetize the conflict. The rupture exists in statements, absences, and decisions rather than confrontations. Its impact is cumulative rather than explosive. In this sense, the Beckham-Peltz fallout represents a different kind of public family conflict. It is not driven by scandal, but by governance. It is not resolved through apology, but through separation. The clarity of Brooklyn's position, combined with the Beckhams' refusal to engage substantively, has allowed the situation to reach a form of equilibrium. Looking forward, there is little indication that this equilibrium will change. Brooklyn has articulated a future that does not include reconciliation, and his actions align with that position. The Beckham family continues to operate successfully without him, adjusting their public narrative accordingly. Both sides appear committed to their respective paths. The broader significance of the story lies in what it reveals about identity within powerful families. When family functions as both emotional unit and corporate structure, conflicts over autonomy take on heightened stakes. Brooklyn's departure challenges the assumption that legacy is inherently binding. It suggests that continuity must be chosen, not enforced. For now, the rupture stands as complete. It is not defined by a single argument or event, but by a series of decisions that culminated in separation. Whether history will soften those boundaries remains unknown. What is clear is that the story has moved beyond dispute and into definition. In the end, the Beckham-Peltz fallout is not simply about a wedding, a contract, or a name. It is about the limits of control, the cost of branding, and the conditions under which independence becomes necessary. As both families continue forward on parallel tracks, the fracture remains a visible reminder that even the most polished public images can conceal deeply personal fault lines.